There we have sensational shrimp gumbo, and we're going to try and see what this tastes like. I'm Joseph Brooks, and this is Lawyer in the Kitchen. Welcome to Lawyer in the Kitchen. Today we're going to make sensational shrimp gumbo. And let me tell you about this. This recipe is very easy to make. The hardest thing to do with shrimp gumbo is the roux. The roux has to be perfect. That's what makes it brown. And it takes, the first time I made this, I was mixing the roux. I kept stirring and whisking, and I kept going, is this ever going to turn the right color? It took almost 40 minutes to do that. So this is a dish you're going to do when you have some time. So the important thing about gumbo is you got to have okra. Now, if you don't like okra, you don't have to have okra. But this comes from, the name gumbo actually comes from a West African word, kingumbo, although I'm sure that's not pronounced correctly. But that's actually where this came from. The influence was from West Africa, actually Northwest Africa, into Louisiana, and if you're a true Cajun, it's got to be southern Louisiana. So this is going to be some sensational shrimp gumbo. Can't wait for you to make this at home. All right, I told you the roux is the most difficult thing to do, and that's not hard. It just takes a long time. We're going to use a half cup of all-purpose flour. We're going to use a half cup of canola oil, and we're going to use about a half a stick of butter, unsalted butter. And then we're going to stir that around forever. But before we start, we're going to take these shrimp and we're going to peel them, and we're going to save all of the peels because we're going to use this to make our stock. And then we're going to put, just to make sure it's got a little more seafood flavor, we're going to put some clam juice in it as well. And then we don't have to buy some canned seafood stock. At any rate, we're also going to use what is referred to as the Holy Trinity. Now, the difference between the Holy Trinity and the mirepoix, which is a French combination of vegetables, is that instead of the carrots, we have bell peppers. And in this instance, the Holy Trinity is going to be about a cup of onions, about a cup of carrots, not carrots, celery, and a cup of green peppers. And I just wanted to say that this green pepper and these here came from our garden. Now, I've never been able to grow a green pepper, but my wife somehow has been able to do this, and we have plenty of them. So thumbs up to you on that. All right, we're going to use a little bit of Worcestershire, probably about a tablespoon. Now, this is Louisiana hot sauce, and that's what we want to use. We're going to use some of that to taste. We've got some Creole seasoning. We're going to use about a tablespoon of that. Of course, we have garlic. We're going to use this liquid shrimp and crab boil to coat the shrimp and let it rest, because the shrimp's not going in until the very last. In fact, we won't even cook the shrimp exactly. We're going to put it in the pot after the whole thing's done. This does take a little bit of time. All right, and then we're going to use two different kinds of sausage. We're going to use andouille sausage, and we're going to use regular smoked sausage. And in this pack, we're going to use about half of each one of those. Of course, salt and pepper, and I'm going to use some rice at the end to put in the bowl. Also, we're going to use some kitchen bouquet. Sharon just said, really? Are we really going to use kitchen bouquet? No, kitchen bouquet doesn't go in this dish. All right, so now we're going to peel our shrimp. We're going to take all of the shell off, and we're going to save all of this. Because we're going to use this, we're actually going to boil those shells along with the clam juice. And that's going to give us a nice flavor. We've got our shrimp peeled, and we're going to put a little bit of this liquid shrimp and crab oil, and just enough to coat them. Mix them up. I might need a little more. And then we're going to cover this up and put this in the fridge until the very end. So we'll see you guys probably in about 2 hours. All right. And we're going to take the shells now, all of these shells. Here comes the flavor. All right, I can smell it already. All right, make sure you shake up your clam juice. Put that in there. You can use anything else. You can make, you can buy seafood stock. We're going to use about 6 quarts of water. 6 quarts. No, we're not. That's crazy. No, we're going to use about 6 cups of water. So the next thing we're going to do is make the roux. This is going to take anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes to do. This is the absolute most important part of this dish, and it's not hard. It's not hard to do. It's just, it takes time, and you don't want the burner on high. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to put in a half a cup of canola oil. And I've looked at several different videos on this just to see where I compare. And virtually everybody uses canola oil. And then about a half a stick of butter. And then we're going to turn this burner on about there. We don't want it very hot. Now there's some people that can make this in 5 minutes, but I don't know who they are and I don't know how to do it. So this is going to take a while, and we're going to keep checking this every few minutes. But just so you know, this is interesting, I thought. There are 3 kinds of roux. There's a white roux, which is what's usually used for thickening all kinds of things, including gravy and soups and things like that. There's a blonde roux, which I have no idea what that's for. And then there's a brown roux, and this is going to be a deep, dark brown roux that's made for making gumbo. Our butter's just about completely melted. Checking this heat. We really don't want this very hot, just enough to cook. And we're going to put some of the flour in, not all of it yet. And then we're going to whisk that around. Whoa. And we're going to turn down our stock. But you can see that's cooking nicely. All right, this is no time to look at anything else except the roux. All right, we're at about the 5-minute mark right now. All right, this is 10 minutes. Have a look at this. All right, this is 20 minutes, and we're getting in the ballpark. All right, so this has been about 25 minutes, and this is a nice deep brown. A nice chocolate brown. So now it's time to put in our vegetables. Again, continue to stir. So we've got our Holy Trinity in there. Look at that. We're going to cook this for about 5 minutes. I'm going to put a little salt in here. And I turned the burner off, and now I'm getting ready to turn it back on. Still low heat. All right, this has been cooking for about 10 minutes. And now we're going to put in the garlic. We're going to put in about 4 or 5 cloves, chopped up nicely, cook for another couple of minutes, and then we're going to start adding liquid to it. All right, now we are going to put in some of this stock, pour it through a strainer. Stir that up nicely, and then we're going to add our tomatoes. All right, I'm going to just check this to see where we are. Just a taste. It's going to be good, but we need a little salt. But don't over salt it now because it's going to cook down some. So just a little bit more salt. We're going to add a little pepper. And then we're going to put our tomatoes in. All right, now we're going to add our tomatoes. These are fire roasted tomatoes, and we're going to add about a tablespoon of Creole seasoning. Mix everything up, and then we're going to bring this to a simmer. And we're not going to cover this. We're going to keep it open. Now it's time to chop up our okra. We're actually going to fry this in some oil. And people who don't like the sliminess of okra, this won't be slimy after it cooks in the oil. And it'll also help to thicken the gumbo. All right, so we got our gumbo stewing and boiling, simmering, other words that I can come up with in any moment's notice here. And just a little bit of oil. Got the burner on low. Might turn it up just a little bit. We're just going to fry these, and we're going to add these in a little bit. All right, we'll add a few chopped green onions. Little flavor, little color. And we'll put that directly in the pot. Give it a stir. Check our okra. All right, so we're going to have smoked sausage and andouille sausage, and we're going to cut these up like this. Just nice little slices. All right, the okra is fine and it's ready to go in. Stir that around. So now we're going to go ahead and put the rest of our stock in. And that's about 6 cups. And see that? All that flavor is going to be in there. Isn't that nice? Okay, these are nice and browned. Now some people just put them in there. I just think this adds a little more flavor when they're caramelized a little bit. And then check your recipe, because I forgot to put in bay leaves, and I'm putting in about 4, and those do make a difference. Look at that, that's nice. That's got all the liquid in it needs. It's just going to simmer now. We're not going to do the shrimp until the very last minute. In fact, we're not even going to cook the shrimp. We're going to actually pull this off at the very end and put the shrimp in there. But this is going to cook covered now for about an hour and a half. So I checked my recipe. Guess what? I forgot Worcestershire, which some people call Worcestershire sauce. That's what my wife calls it. Isn't that correct? Is it Worcestershire sauce? Worcestershire? Some people just call it W sauce. But anyhow, we're going to put in about a little less than a tablespoon. It has been a little more than an hour and a half. I put the rice on a little more than 20 minutes ago. The rice is done. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Hey, listen, you got to check my rice video out, because Teddy's Chop Suey Rice tells you how to make rice perfect every time. All right, let's have a look at the gumbo. And that looks great. And I'll be honest, I've already tasted it. I'm going to add just a little bit of hot sauce to it, not much, but it's a little thin. So because of that, I'm going to thicken it just a tad. So what we're going to do is, I got this ice cold water. Because that's the best way to avoid lumps. And I'm going to put in some flour. And then we're going to stir that around. And you may like it thinner. If you do, that's fine. I like it just a little thicker than that, just enough to like coat the spoon. All right, this looks good. So now we're going to turn the heat up a little bit. And we're going to add a little bit of this flour water. So Louisiana hot sauce. About that much. And now it's time, I'm going to pull this off the burner because I don't want it to be any hotter than that. Now it's time to put our shrimp in there. Now, my wife and I always kind of make fun of some of the southern shrimp. When people say like spasa shrimp. So anyhow, that's with shrimp without an H, but we don't have that. We're going to put this in here. This has been sitting in the oil. It's been in the refrigerator the whole time. The crab and shrimp oil. We're just going to put these in here. And they will cook. And we're going to let them sit for about 5-6 minutes. And cover this up. And we'll come back in about 5-6 minutes and we'll plate this and see how it looks. So we're going to put some of this rice in a ramekin. And I put a little bit of oil around the inside of it, so hopefully this will come right out. See if this works. Ah, look at that. I'm happy with that. Now it's time to put in the sensational shrimp gumbo. That looks good. And let's put a little bit of garnish on here from the garden. And there we have sensational shrimp gumbo. And we're going to try and see what this tastes like. A little bit of rice. Oh, it's got the right amount of heat. If you need a little more heat, put some in there. And try one of these shrimp. That's hot. That's good. Thanks for coming to Lawyer in the Kitchen. We'll see you next time. You got to try this at home. It takes some time, but it's not that hard to make. Just make sure the roux is right. It takes a little bit of time. Thanks for coming. Bye.